Fee slipped through a narrow gap in the rock, sucking in a breath to squeeze between the towering russet slabs. High sandstone walls rose around her on both sides of the thin gully, which cut a tight, zigzagging path between sheer canyon walls. She cursed as her sleeve snagged in a spiny cactus. It wasn't even really her sleeve. The creamy silk blouse had originally been Briar's. 100-year-old blouse wasn't Fee's idea of good traveling gear, but her own shirt was in shreds after the fight in the Forest of Thorns, so borrowing Briar's had been her only option. He'd kept his velvet coat and his short-sleeved undershirt, while she took the impractical antique. It fit her more like a tunic, belted at the waist. Her companions weren't looking much better. Shane's dusky red coat was infested with burrs, and there was a long black smudge up the center of Briar's shirt, like he'd been dragged on his stomach. Even the paper witch looked a little worse for wear after a week of hard traveling through the wilds of Andar. Fee glanced at the quickly rising sun, already too warm on her tan skin. Her short brown ponytail clung to her neck. If it wasn't so hot, she could have at least kept her coat on instead of tying it awkwardly around her hips. Without it, the bell-shaped sleeves were a menace. Fee eyed the cactus. It didn't look like it was going to budge. With a horrible ripping sound, she tore the sleeve free. A few rocks slid out from beneath her, skittering and popping down the sloping path and almost clobbering Shane in the head. Shane shot her a glare. That time, it was definitely on purpose. The huntsman's ash-brown hair was looking more than a little unkempt in its braided bun, and her fair cheeks were definitely sunburned. Fee winced. Still just an accident. Just like the last time, and the time before that. Well, why don't we switch places, and we'll see how many rocks I accidentally kicked down on you, Shane grumbled. She lost interest in Fee as her wedge heel stuck in a fissure between the stones, almost bowling her over when she yanked it free. Fee rolled her eyes. Even you would not be able to squeeze past me right now. 3 days ago, when they had finally left the wastes behind for the high bluffs rising out of the desert, Fee had felt nothing but relief. The paper witch had called this place the Sunset Narrows. She thought she could see why. Battered sandstone slabs rose around them like a labyrinth, some of them spear-point sharp, others smeared with black dust like scorch marks. By day, they were a dull rust color, but the sinking sun set them on fire, the scarlet light blazing in every craggy rock face until they glowed. She had underestimated the narrows part, though. The maze of stone passages didn't make for easy traveling. Even Shane could barely wriggle through the tightest gaps, and Fee's knees and elbows were purple with bruises. It was a good thing the witches of Aurora's line were tall and willowy, or she had a feeling they would have lost Briar and the paper witch a few forks back. Need a hand? Fee looked up. Briar was just beyond the next bulging rock, reaching down to help her up. His pale skin had a slight rosy color, and his golden hair was messy from the climb. It's better to go over, trust me. He jerked his chin at the gap along the wall, which barely looked wide enough to stick a leg through. Fee hesitated, then kicked herself for hesitating. Thanks. His hand was warm around hers, the once smooth skin rough with new blisters, already turning into calluses. Briar shot her one of his dazzling smiles, holding on tight as she scrambled up the rock. I'm just glad you didn't see the part where I tried to squeeze through and almost got stuck for good. Luckily, we've been eating light. Don't let Shane hear you say that, Fee warned. Her partner had spent all morning ranting after she nearly broke a tooth on the thin rye loaves from the paper witch's pack. It was called traveler's bread because it kept forever, but it was also hard as a rock and tasted about the same. Unfortunately, they didn't have much choice. The paper witch was a vegetarian, and even if he wasn't, The only signs of life in the canyon were a few cockeyed lizards and the nesting swallows darting in and out of holes in the bluff. Neither looked very appetizing to Fee.